All right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined all the way from Israel by Avi Pinsky. How are you doing, Avi?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Yeah, great too. And Avi is the founder of Pinsky Consulting and is known as the business finance doctor. After more than a decade as a public accountant, Avi realized that small business owners don't just need someone to crunch numbers, they need a financial partner who can diagnose hidden issues and prescribe practical solutions that actually grow their business. And through your signature business wellness checks, you pinpoint operational blind spots and deliver simple results focused treatment plans. And what we're going to talk about today is the 5 levers every business owner should know. So, just to baseline this, Avi, when you made the transition into being a consultant and helping businesses, what was kind of the light bulb moment for you when you saw, okay, here are things that owners and small business people are really missing out on?
Well, actually, the light bulb moment came about a decade or so before. I went into accounting, wanting to help people, wanting to help them in a meaningful way, get them out of a bad situation into a better situation, so that their life could really be changed from a financial point of view. And it took me only a year or so in accounting to realize that that wasn't actually what accountants are doing. So while you need an accountant, you need a bookkeeper, and it's possible that they might save you, a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s on your tax return. It's not changing your life, right?
Mhm.
They're not altering the course of your day-to-day life. And I wanted to be somebody who could really help with that. That's kind of where the whole doctor branding mentality comes into being, is that your doctor theoretically could take you from a place where you're very unhealthy and
Mhm.
maybe things are not looking so good and maybe bleak in the short term. If they can put you on the right treatment plan, it can really turn around your whole life, where you can go from somebody who's overweight and unhealthy and 1 foot in the grave
Yeah.
to really being someone who's thriving and their life is just completely different, in a completely different realm than it was just a year or two ago. So that light bulb moment really came at the beginning of my career. It just took
Mhm.
me more of a little bit of time to figure out how to take my experience and take my expertise and apply it to that goal.
That's it. So let's talk about the 5 levers. So these levers. So why don't you go through the five, and then we'll just explore some of them as we go.
Yeah. So the first thing, when you're gonna have any sale, so the first thing you need is a lead. Yeah, you need
Mhm.
somebody who you're trying to sell to. The second lever, again, there's 15 levers in general for businesses in general, but there's five that are leading towards revenue and towards
Mhm.
sales.
Yeah.
So the first is leads, right? You need customers to come in the door. The second is going to be your conversion rate. How well are you at selling to those clients? Third is going to be your retention rate. How often do people come back to purchase again? The fourth is how often they come, the frequency of
Mhm.
those purchases. Is this a weekly purchase, a monthly purchase, a yearly purchase, whatever it may be. And the fifth is going to be how much are you charging for each average purchase.
Mhm.
So when you take all those numbers, you add them together, you multiply them, as appropriate. So you're going to get to your total revenue, and that's essentially your total sales for the year, the month, or whatever period is that you're examining.
Yeah. So let's talk about the first one, leads, because obviously that's an issue that everybody has, and we hear about it more and more today. People are saying like it's harder and harder to get leads because it's harder and harder to get to your target customer. So talk to me a little bit about your advice to businesses around leads.
Yeah. So one of the things that you got to look at with your leads is, where are they coming from? Where are you spending your marketing dollars? Which of those marketing dollars are actually working, first of all, to bring you leads, and second of all, to
Mhm.
bring you good leads? Because not every lead is the same, right? If
Yeah.
I advertise over three or four or five different channels, do I know which of those channels are actually bringing in clients? Do I know which ones are actually bringing in people that are stepping into my store, stepping on my, coming to my website?
Hmm.
And then what percentage of those are actually converting into clients? Are the quality of some of those leads better than the others? If I'm advertising again and across 3 channels, it could be channels 1 and 2 are bringing me a lot of leads, but almost no business. And
Right.
channel 3 might be bringing me fewer leads total, but maybe 90% of those leads are actually closing. So you need to do
Mhm.
an analysis of your leads. Where are they coming from? And which ones are which channels are closing better than others, so that you know where to spend your efforts going forward.
Yeah.
So it's really about having an analysis on those leads and seeing which ones are worth which channels are worth pursuing further, right, so that you can more wisely use your efforts and your budget.
Yeah, and that can be tough sometimes, can't it, for businesses or small business owners because, as you said, if you could be in 3 channels and two could be producing a high, what looks like a high volume of leads, but they're not good leads, and the third one maybe,
Exactly.
less, and so it's we're psychologically it's counterintuitive for us to go, well, let's focus on the third channel because that's where the really good leads, but I'm going to be able to deal with the fact that I'm not going to get huge volume. And that can sometimes be, because I always say, the feel good funnel, people love a feel good funnel, volume of leads, they don't convert, but you feel good because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to narrow down your business to the metrics that matter.
Mhm.
And the end of the day, you have a business to fund your family, to fund your lifestyle, to pay your bills. You don't have a business to get the business running and
Mhm.
keep the business going. You have a greater picture, and that's your personal life that has to be supported by your
Mhm.
business.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to have cash flow in the business that's going to, lead into more take-home pay
Yeah.
for you, your family, your loved ones, whatever cause you want to use that money for. So having a lot of leads is great if channels 1 and 2 are bringing you hundreds and hundreds of leads a day, or a month or whatever. That's amazing. If none of them are converting, so what? Right?
Yeah.
What's the point? It's
Yeah.
not leading to your bottom line. It's not leading to your revenue. It's not leading to your profit, and it's certainly not leading to your cash flow.
Yeah.
And those are really the three numbers that matter the most.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's burning your cash. And then when it comes to conversion rates, right? Again, that's something that you need to analyze and you should be looking to optimize, right? As you go forward and you get more experience and you analyze properly, you should be looking at and that allows for a little bit more predictability.
Yeah, for sure. I have a client right now. We're dealing with the conversion rate problem, and so the question is the salesperson not doing a good job, or is the sales system not doing a good job? Are the leads that are coming in not pre-qualified? Um, does that salesperson need training? Do we need a new person? The analysis of the numbers is critical in telling you where do you have to make changes in your business, what do you have to do differently, so that your business can grow. All right, it's not a matter of just gathering metrics, gathering
Mhm.
data, and letting it sit there and go unutilized. And it's not a matter of having it waiting until tax time when you have to do your tax return and then, okay, great, I got my numbers here, let's file my tax returns. Obviously you need to file your taxes,
Mhm.
but there's data there, there's information there that if analyzed properly it can help you turn around a sinking ship into one that's really sailing nicely and thriving. So you just need the right system to analyze the data properly so that you can know where do you have to make changes in your business so that the future can be brighter than the past.
Yeah, because it's always very tempting and very easy, isn't it? I mean, if the
Yeah.
conversion rate's low or the lead, just to blame the leads, right, or whatever, rather than, as you say, there can be multiple factors. It can be the leads, it can be the salespeople, it can be your process, it can be so many other things that if you don't know, but it's very easy sometimes just to blame one thing or just to go, oh, they're terrible leads, and you
For
might be
sure.
leaving a
For
lot of
sure.
money on the table.
Yeah, but the business is really it's a lot of parts that are
Yeah,
moving together. There's your marketing team, there's also your sales team, and they really have to work hand in hand. So
mhm,
it's all nice for the sales team to tell the marketing team, "Hey, you're not bringing in enough leads,
yeah,
you're not bringing good enough leads," and the marketing team to say, "No, we're bringing in enough leads, you're just not closing them." But
yeah,
what's really happening, You need somebody to really look at the data and say, "Okay, well, which of these is really true?"
Yeah, yeah. No, it's funny. As I was saying, like we're what are we 2025, and we're still having this sales and marketing alignment issue, which every
Exactly.
year people talk about. Oh, we must get sales and marketing aligned, and it seems in a lot of organization that never happens. And
Yeah.
then obviously, then you know, finding a new customer, converting them, and all that. That's fantastic. Um, but retaining them is where the magic really is.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. If I can have somebody pay me $100 once versus somebody else pay it to me over and over and over again,
Mhm.
that's great. And it's gonna cost a lot less to keep a client happy and coming back than it is to get a new one, right? If I need to rely on my marketing team and my sales team to close new business over and over and over again, when I can just have my client facing technicians or the waiters in a restaurant or
Mhm.
whatever, whoever's actually facing with the client, just do a good job, have a smile, and treat the customer nicely. That doesn't cost me anything to get that customer to come back.
Yeah, and that's often where people fall down, especially maybe early stages or small businesses, because you're always chasing more and more. And like when you land
Yeah.
a customer, it's like, great, I have a customer now. I need to go out and get more of these, and we forget about like the fact that we now have a customer that needs nurturing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. It's a big part as well, is to see, the, again, going back to the analysis, right? You need to see how many clients are coming back.
Mhm.
And maybe you have a service that you don't want them to come back frequently, right? If
Right.
I'm an HVAC technician,
Yeah.
I don't want your HVAC to break on a regular basis, and that I have to keep coming and servicing the same machine. That's not going to speak very well for my services. But
Mm.
if I have a restaurant and somebody's going to come to my restaurant once, that's not a good thing, right?
Right.
If I sell clothing and nobody's going to repurchase from one season to the next,
Mhm.
it doesn't speak very highly for my product, and then I have a different issue that I have to address.
Yeah, and then the other one that you mentioned is billing frequency, and that obviously is dependent on product, service, whatever you're doing. But
For sure.
but
For
your
sure.
whole financials have to be built around that billing frequency, and not just the billing frequency. Like it's as we mentioned earlier, it's cash flow. It's really the collections frequency.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the cash flow, I look at the collections, I look at kind of separately.
Mm.
This is just the numbers that I look at in terms of going into your revenue.
Yeah.
Now, revenue oftentimes, like kind of as you alluded to, can be a theoretical number,
Hmm.
right? There's also, okay, how much do I actually collect on a regular
Yeah.
basis? And I had that with a different client, right, dealing with a collections issue where their billing software had a little check mark next to their invoices saying, send invoice to client. And that checkbox was defaulted to being unchecked.
Hmm.
So they had an issue of not sending their bills out to their
Right.
clients. And again, that analysis was missing. They didn't have a regular examination and analysis of their books to realize our accounts receivable are kind of going out of control here. If they would have taken 5 seconds to look into it, they would have noticed that. But nobody was looking at the numbers because it didn't mean anything to the business owner. It was something that went from the bookkeeper to the tax accountant at the end of tax season. But no analysis, no real time information was gathered from it that could actually help the business.
Hmm.
Right, and they were suffering from a cash flow problem. They had a lot of revenue. They even were profitable,
Right.
but the cash just wasn't there at the end of the day.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, exactly, and that's such an interesting one. Is again, that's when you're focused on parts of the business rather than looking at the end to end, process of the business. I mean, that's it's got to be a bit of a surprise to that client when they discovered they weren't actually invoicing people.
Yeah,
and
for sure, for sure.
and then let's face it, if you then invoice somebody like 3 or 6 months later, your chances of bad debts are going to skyrocket.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of them that we had to then decide were just not collectible at that point,
Yeah,
for sure.
that's I tell you, the writing off bad debts is such a killer. It's one of the most depressing things to have to do in a business.
Yeah, because you did the service, you made
Mhm,
the money, you
mhm,
made the profit, but I go to my bank and the money's just not there.
Yeah.
And, when I now have to pay my vendors, I don't have anything to pay them with because
Yeah.
the money's just not there.
Yeah.
And I can tell them, "Oh, look at my business. I'm profitable. I'll pay you on my profit." They don't care. They don't
Yeah.
want that.
Absolutely. And then the other thing is obviously in many businesses over time you want to increase your average sale, right? You want to increase, if I get you as a
Yeah.
customer, I want to expand that. And again, I think that's something that sometimes, especially when you're chasing new business and you're looking to expand or whatever, the um, expanding wallet share with existing customers gets overlooked.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Just, inflation goes up and it's going to continue going up. That's just the way the world works. So just like your vendors are going to charge you more, you're going to have to pass that on to your customers as well. Otherwise, your business might be profitable one year, the next year, maybe a little bit less so. Maybe the next year, hopefully it's still somewhat, but
Right.
eventually it's gonna turn the corner, and that black number at the bottom is gonna turn red very quickly if you don't keep up with with the price demands.
Yeah, and doing that is something that you also need to do carefully and with the strategy, right? Because as consumers, we don't like surprises, and we hate, and obviously everybody hates price increases. But if it's done properly, you can go, yeah, okay, I understand that. And
Yeah.
especially if you're in a very competitive or a more commoditized market, that's a real tough one.
Yeah, and again, it just goes back to the analysis, right?
Mhm,
Somebody has to be there looking at your numbers and saying, "Okay, if we raise our prices 10%, 20%, whatever it is that you decide, how many clients do we expect to return? And
mhm,
what's that gonna do for the bottom line?" Right? Is that it could be that that's gonna increase it. It could be that it's gonna be, decrease it. But you need somebody who's looking at the numbers, analyzing them, and putting together a couple what if scenarios, right?
mhm,
If we raise it 10%, are we going to lose 20% of our clients? 5%? What if we raise it 20%? Then how many do we expect to lose? And then when you have that data, you can then make better informed decisions, because you're not just going based on your gut, you're not just going based on your whim, but you're actually thinking through the decisions that you're making.
mhm. And then obviously then you need to figure out how to communicate that and make sure that you can communicate that in a way that your existing customers are going to go, okay, I don't like it, but it
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a key part a key part of the process as well.
yeah. So what's one last piece of advice that you would give to business owners?
I would say that you need to have some basic understanding of accounting, right? You don't
Mhm,
need to be an expert, but accounting is the language of business. And like I've said over and over again, you need to know how to understand what story the numbers are telling you so that you can make better decisions based on that story. So, whether you're the one doing the analysis yourself, whether you're hiring somebody out to do it, whether you're a bookkeeper that's helping you with it, someone needs to look at that story and see what's actually being told to you from the numbers so you can then make the right decision. If you go on my website, I've got a free Excel that you can download, and that's a good place to start in just getting
mhm,
that basic understanding of what kind of numbers can I expect for the year, what kind of targets can I set, which levers do I maybe have to change a little bit on how I'm pulling them, and maybe tug this one a little bit more, tug
mhm.
that one a little bit less, and then play around and see how does that change the overall picture. At the end of the day, how does that change my take home pay, right? How does that change the cash flow of the business?
Yeah. No, I think that's an excellent point because oftentimes, business owned people who start businesses, that's not the part that they really enjoy, and they think it's
Yeah.
I'll just outsource that. But as you said, the more you can understand it, the better. I remember myself, my first jobs where I had budgets. I bought the book. I can't remember what it was. It was something like Financial Accounting for Non-Financial Managers or something. Very simple to
Yeah.
understand. And I guess the thing that I learned early on is when you get over your resistance to this, it turns out to be not as complicated as you think.
Correct. Yeah, there's really only a few basic accounting concepts that you have to understand in
Mhm,
order to make informed decisions. But
mhm.
you need to get, an education on those in order to be able to do it right.
Yeah, and as you said, you have an Excel spreadsheet. There's plenty of information available out there that you should be able to do that pretty easily. So listen,
Yeah.
thanks very much. All of Avi's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people again what you do.
So I help business owners have a healthy business. A healthy business is one that's growing, it's one that's profitable, and it's one that's producing consistent positive cash flow that you can then use to increase your take home pay. Yeah, my website has that free download, which you can use to set targets for your business and um, help manage where do you want to make changes in order to increase that take home pay. PinskyConsulting.com. And you'll see at the top there's a prosperity playbook link. So you click
Excellent.
there and you can get that free download.
Excellent prosperity playbook. Perfect. All right. Well, listen, thanks again, Avi. Thank you for watching and listening, and I will see you all again very soon. Thank you.